Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, back for a new Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed the Excalibur retrospective. If you're not part of the $4 tier on Patreon, it will be live on YouTube this Friday evening. So let's crack on with the first question, and the first question comes from Frederick. Hi Oliver, greetings from the frozen wasteland known as Canada. Two questions for you. Question number one, do you have examples of a director's cut of a movie that actually made it worse than the theatrical cut? I put down Alexander, the Final Cut. Now, it's not a perfect film by any means, but this new cut they put out a couple of years ago, I thought it was kind of worse than the theatrical one. Oliver Stone has changed that film so many times, I've kind of lost count how many versions there are. So, I mean, I've not seen that many director's cut that actually end up being worse. They kind of, made adjustments for good reasons. But yeah, I would say the Final Cut is not particularly good in comparison to the theatrical version. Question number two, in your opinion, what is the best tie-in song for an 80s movie? I put down two films, Ghostbusters and Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me for The Breakfast Club. The next question is from Matthew. Question number one, how long does it take you on average to make a retrospective video? It usually takes me 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes it's taken me 4 weeks, depending on what's going on in my schedule. Because of the action documentary things are kind of like, I've dedicated time to two things, so it's kind of difficult balancing act. So yeah, 3 weeks on average. When it comes to like the horror season in October, I pick and choose films which I think the audience will like, but also it makes it easier for me to sort of cover like X amount of reviews in like 4 weeks. So like when I did it last year at American Werewolf in London, Deep Rising, I think there was something else. Maybe there wasn't, I can't remember. But it's kind of films that don't require all these kind of sequels and spin-off stuff. I just kind of makes it a little bit simple for me. Question number two, do you think you will eventually do retrospectives with other genres like comedy, drama, history, war, dramedy, crime, westerns, etc., rather than the genre titles such as action, sci-fi, fantasy and horror? I do want to cover drama and war films such as Saving Private Ryan and I think the Brian De Palma movie, I think Casualties of War, I think it was called. I can't remember now. Trying to suggest a movie I want to cover and I can't remember the fucking name. It really depends on what my audience kind of like. When I sort of look, the numbers don't lie, so you kind of pick and choose films that the audience will like, but also I am familiar with and I think would be interesting for you guys to watch. Picking, if I had to pick like a specific comedy, it may not, do particularly well, but I need to sort of test the water, I suppose, I think, really. I think covering something like a war film would be wise, I think. Something that is kind of from that period, like the 80s or the 90s. 90s had this kind of, reawakening of the war period dramas. But yeah, I think you're right, Matthew, to cover different genres more often than the typical ones. The next question is from Davey. Hi Ollie, hope all is well with you. Yes, I'm doing very well, thank you. What's happened to Fix It in Post? I miss it, thanks. Sadly, the show ended last year, around June, July. The show itself wasn't doing particularly well. We only did well when you had films that are very polarizing. Alien Covenant, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and there was something else. But generally they didn't do particularly well. And basically it was ended up costing me money to make the show because I was renting a studio for the last 6 months of its running time, of when we were producing it. So then, since then, I've kind of removed the show off YouTube, but I will bring back the audio files of it because we put them on iTunes for people to download, such as Fix It in Post and commentaries. When that was taken down, I'm going to bring back the Fix It in Post audio files so you guys can basically download them through Patreon. So I think there's about 27 episodes or more, I think. Yeah, I believe so. I'll get that sorted in the next month or so. Next question is from Wit. Hi Oliver, well done on all your recent content. Thank you very much, Wit. Question number one, what do you think it would take for us to finally see an official release of the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 complete scores? Would you consider in helping to get it released as you did with the Superman scores? Well, Ghostbusters 1 was released not a few years ago, but quite a long time ago, probably over a decade ago. But that's been out of print for years and it's on eBay for, you know, extortionate prices. Ghostbusters 2, sadly, yeah, never got released. Even in '89, the LP release just had the music from the film, like Bobby Brown and such. I'd love to see a double pack, like the Danny Elfman set they did, because they obviously they released Batman and Batman Returns, and they re-released it again as a pack. So yeah, seeing Ghostbusters 1 and 2 together would be great. I think the perfect time would be when the new film comes out, so there would be a perfect opportunity for Columbia/Sony to capitalise on the music. I think that would be wise. Question number 2, would you rather see a director's cut of Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, or an in-depth documentary about the film and the challenges they face? Can't I have both, Whit? Come on. I would probably say an in-depth documentary, because the drama behind the scenes and how things were made, it ends up being far more interesting than the actual film. Sidney J. Furie did submit to Warner Brothers in 87, his complete cut, with all the effects finished to the standard of Superman 4 that we know. So then it got trimmed. So that cut is sitting away in a vault. The one they put on the DVDs and later the Blu-ray release was basically a scoring print. So we got those wipes across the screen. That's for the composer to time the music. So that's all a mess. That's all, you know, damaged and scuffed because they're just work prints. So there's no, you know, they don't take care of them. So yeah, so I would love both, but in all honesty, I think a big documentary would be nice, but I doubt they would do that. Question number 3, where do you stand on the idea of Arnold doing a King Conan film or mini TV series on Netflix? I would love to see a film. I want to go to cinema and see a big budget Arnold film in CinemaScope, and it's Conan again, you know, Arnold at his older age, you know, struggling to be king, or you know, losing his power over the land, whatever. So yeah, I think a film would be great. I mean, Netflix, you know, TV series are all so far been very, very good. I don't think, could Conan work as a 6-part or 13-part episode series? I think just a feature film would be ideal for Arnold, I think. Next question is from Matthew. Hey Oliver, are you going to see Triple Threat? I'm really excited for this one since it has this generation's action stars in their peak. Yes, I will see it, but is it coming out in the cinema? I haven't seen any trailers for it. Is it a Netflix thing? I'm sure it must only be Netflix. Let me know, Matthew. Next question is from Omar. Hi Ollie, hope you are well. I'm doing very well, sir. Question number 1, in your opinion, what is the best Jerry Goldsmith score or your favourite? I put down 2. I can put down 2, can't I? Because I'm Oliver Harper. I put down First Blood and The Shadow. Both amazing scores. There's so many great scores Jerry's done, it's always difficult to pick which are the best. Question number 2, who is your favourite action star at the moment? I would say Tony Jaa. When I saw On Back for the first time as a projectionist, seeing him do these things I thought impossible by a human, you know, it was like seeing Bruce Lee again for the first time. You know, when I was a kid seeing Enter the Dragon and just going, oh my god, this guy is like Superman, a real life Superman. So yeah, I'll go with Tony. Question number 3, what is your favourite video game when you were in your teens? I put down a couple again as well. I put down Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the 3DO because I was mad, and you know, I always back the winners, you know, with the console wars. And Duke Nukem 3D I thought was brilliant. When I went to play it at my friend's house on his PC, it was so good, and he got all the add-on packs. Then I got it for my Sega Saturn. It wasn't as good as the PC one, of course, but it still had retained the same gameplay and looked great. So yeah, those two. Question number 4, do you think Netflix will ever win the Best Picture Oscar? A very, very strong possibility. Even though Spielberg is against it, I think times are changing, and maybe next year or the year after we'll see Netflix getting a big award. The next question is from William. Hi Oliver, I don't recall ever hearing this, so do you like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Harry Potter series? Also, thanks for the continuing great content. Thank you very much, William. I love the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit trilogy. I watch both extended cuts of each trilogy every Christmas now. It's part of my yearly viewing. I don't care what everyone else thinks. I could happily watch an 8-hour cut of Fellowship of the Ring. I love that world. I love the music. Harry Potter, I've kind of warmed to over the years. My girlfriend's obsessed with Harry Potter. She grew up with that. So the movies are kind of now part of that, you know, yearly viewing. I think, yeah, Harry Potter films, I think, get really good from 3 onwards, really. The first 2 are kind of a bit messy, but Chris Columbus kind of set the groundwork. He created that world, so, you know, you've got to give him credit to that. And, you know, I don't think they're as good as Lord of the Rings, but they're very entertaining. And you get 1 or 2 which are a little bit lukewarm, but I think the characters are good and the music's great and the production design's wonderful. And there's some good humour in those films as well. But they're not as good as Lord of the Rings, which Natalie will be very annoyed about for me saying, but it's true. Next question is from Niall. Hi Oliver, what are your thoughts on all the remakes, reimaginings, prequels and sequels? I thought Terminator Genisys was awful and should have never been made, and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man totally unnecessary. The 2016 Ghostbusters wasn't much fun either. Do you think these films damaged their franchises? Up against Star Wars Rogue One, which was excellent, so not all bad. I don't think they damaged the branding or, you know, damaged the franchises at all, because these, you know, the films come and go. People's attention spans just change. So, for example, Ghostbusters, you know, people don't really talk about that film anymore, really, or do they? I don't know. I don't mind sequels for these. I like, for example, if they did a sequel to like a 20-year-old film, I'm like, yay, great. I'd rather have a sequel than a remake. Prequels are always kind of, you know, difficult because, you know, when it's set before something else, you know, you've got this, you kind of know the outcome already. You know, in the case of Rogue One, which is my personal favourite Star Wars film out of the new bunch, I suppose that kind of got away with it, so to speak. I mean, it didn't really annoy me that it was kind of a prequel, but I just kind of loved that world, and, you know, it was one of the best looking Star Wars films for a long time, and the action was really spectacular. But I don't think it ever damages the franchises, so to speak, in the long term. Short term, possibly, and as we saw with The Last Jedi, people were just like, fuck Star Wars, you know, after, you know, once they killed off Luke Skywalker, you know, I don't think people will ever forget that. But even though if Star Wars Episode 9 is amazing, then people would be like, oh, I love Star Wars again, I'm going to buy all the toys, you know. But all these toys are now sitting on the shelves and being discounted, no one wants them, so... yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, I would say putting in the short term may damage a franchise a little bit, but then people forgive and forget very quickly. Next question is from Martin. Hi Oliver, what are your best and worst adaptations of book, play, game, etc. to film? Also, hope you are doing well and looking forward to your future work. Thank you very much, Martin. I put down video games to movies. I've not read enough books to warrant saying, hey, this book's a poor adaptation to film. For example, you know, some people may have read Lord of the Rings in, you know, in their youth, and then in their head they've visualised how the world looks, and they see the film and go, wait a minute, this is nothing like how I imagined it. So it's always tough. But yeah, I'll say video games to film. You know, there's a few, say maybe a couple of video game movies that are really good. Like, I like Mortal Kombat from '95. Silent Hill, a very good looking film. It does kind of work in some areas. It's quite watchable, but it's by no means a highly recommended movie. The worst contenders are probably like, you know, the Resident Evil movies, which are downright appalling. It's funny how you have this huge fan base for a video game series, and then you've got a separate fan base for the movies, and then they just kind of, the fans hate the game. The fans who love the games hate the films for the most part. I've met some people who love both. I'm like, are you insane? It's like, and then this fan base who love the movies but aren't fussed about what they're based on. But the movies, the Resident Evil movies, don't really please many people, really, because you have this series which is actually it's a 15 in the UK. The first one was, so they're quite tame for a 15 and not violent enough, you know, to please the sort of fans. It's kind of weird grey area, and they're just so badly written, and Mila Jovovich is terrible. So I'm going on a tangent now. I mean, I could talk all day about how bad these films are, but I think the video games have been the sort of worst offenders, because even though you play a game and it has a very cinematic story, you think, wow, this could be an amazing movie. It could be in the right hands, but they often put these in the hands of people that they think can bring this in for a certain budget and can make a certain profit, and so yeah, it's always that kind of translation to movies. I think if you had someone like a Ridley Scott, whatever, or Jon Favreau or something, you know, trying to do, you know, taking on the job of turning a video game into a movie. They wouldn't do it anyway because they probably have no interest in that. So the directors who are up for it often produce a load of old shit. So, as we've seen, we've got plenty of examples. And there's a new Doom film coming out. Have you all seen the trailer? Have you seen it? Have you fucking seen it? On the budget of like, what? About £500,000 or whatever. It's like I think it is a sequel. Maybe it's a remake. Just go on YouTube. There's a new trailer. It's appalling. Next question is from Daz. Question number 1. When In Search of the Last Action Hero doc is complete, which I'm very much looking forward to, when do we send you our address details and who to? We basically send out a survey when it's complete, and then we basically, the customers who obviously pledge to it will have to update and inform us of your addresses. I presume with Indiegogo, the addresses are already kind of supplied to us, but we'll have to send them out again or inform people again to make sure everything is correct. So don't worry, Daz. You will be notified to provide us with your address. Question number 2. In a recent Laserdisc update, you got your hands on The Hidden from 1987. Have you had a chance to watch it, and what are your thoughts? I bloody loved it. It was really good. Great score, great car chases, great kind of theme of sci-fi and horror. I thought it was wonderful. So definitely a film to be reviewed in future. Question number 3. Seeing as it's 2019, any plans this year for a retrospective review on the Arnold sci-fi classic The Running Man? Well, Daz, I did produce one years ago. It's on my channel. Are you thinking of a redux, so to speak? But yeah, it's on my channel. It's not one of my strongest efforts. It's an earlier one. I don't like my earlier reviews. Some of my followers love those ones from like 2012 or 2013. I'm like, I can't watch them. It's embarrassing. But yeah, it's on there, man. But if you want to see a redux, then maybe, I can tie it in because it's the same year, isn't it? And the last question from Daz. Articles 11 and 13 have just been passed by the EU. Will this affect yourself and other content creators on YouTube? I think it will affect YouTubers, not all of them. Apparently this new law doesn't affect satire, criticism and memes. But what they want to implement and the algorithms seems impossible. I think it's a law that is unrealistic, and tech companies have 2 years to implement it, and I don't think it will happen in that time frame. I think it will basically, in the next 6 to 12 months, I'd probably just correct the law again just to make it simple, because and the tech companies were all against it. There's a funny story I heard. I'm not sure if this is entirely true. When the MEPs were discussing it, the past week or so, one said how they're going to implement these algorithms, and another MEP who was in favour of this law said, "What's an algorithm?" They're voting on something they have no clue what they're voting on. There's typical with these things, old fuddy-duddy gits who have no clue what's going on in the real world. They're behind in the times, and they're just appeasing these wealthy corporations and generally musicians like Paul McCartney. See, I like Paul McCartney. Don't like him anymore. He's a scumbag. He just wants more money to pile up on his existing money to make his massive house out of money. But in all honesty, I don't think it will really affect us that much, because they say fair use is still law. Hasn't been changed. Then YouTubers should be safe, and they should fight their corner if things are, claimed in some way that is illegal. But yeah, everyone was warned for over a year, and everyone signed petitions, but the MEPs, don't give a shit. They're in their own little bubble. So, but the funny thing is, though, I think there's another sort of referendum coming up, or vote. So these MEPs who had voted for it will probably lose their positions once people find out who voted for what. So, oh well, they just sentenced themselves to unemployment. And the final question is from Daniel. Hey Oliver, any chance of doing a review / retrospective on films by Kevin Smith in the future? Clerks, Dogma, etc. I'm not sure, Daniel. I know it has been asked of me before. The one film I would do that I've been actually kind of itching to do for a while is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I thought that film was brilliant. I thought it was so funny. I saw it at the cinema. Loved it to bits. I loved Mallrats when I was younger. Got it on Laserdisc. I kind of watched it again recently. It just doesn't quite work for me anymore. I think it's that weird time frame when I was a teenager, or no, late teen, smoking weed, you know, and watching Mallrats and fucking loved it. But as an adult, I was just like, nah, it's all right, you know. Dogma's still pretty good, actually. I quite like that. But Jay and Silent Bob, you know, there's so many great moments in that. They smash through the window in that Hollywood backlot, and you got the guy from Dawson's Creek and the guy from American Pie, and Jay starts doing all these sexual kind of reenactments in front of them. God, he died with laughter. And when that woman, they're trying to steal those diamonds or whatever for that security vault, and then she lets off a massive fart. God, that's so funny, so funny. Yeah, if I was going to do one, it would be Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, because it's just, yeah, it's got so many great moments in it. Well, everyone, that is the end of the Q&A. But before I leave, I have a special announcement, which may please some people, may not please everyone. For the next 2 months, I'm going to be editing the action documentary, focusing on that 24/7, really. So I won't be doing any retrospectives in that time frame. I do apologise. I have to focus now on the documentary to get it done in time. There will be commentaries here and there on the channel over the next or through April and May, and there will be reviews on Shazam and Avengers Endgame. I'm seeing Stuart Ashen next week to do a commentary to Masters of the Universe. Then I'm seeing Brad to do some Indiana Jones commentaries, and Mark O'Connell for Star Wars stuff, and the return of James Bond. But in terms of like heavily edited content and writing, that's going to go on the back burner for the time being, as I focus on the action documentary, which is, you know, another big documentary. It's, you know, it's the same thing. It's 80s and 90s. But it's in its current state, it's looking very good, but it needs to be finished on time, and I can't focus on both things. You know, when I do, I'm a man. You know, I can't multitask particularly well, so I have to focus on one thing. If I don't focus, if I'm focusing on 2 things or 3 things, I just stress out, and nothing gets done. So this needs to get done now. So I do apologise, you know, if you've just jumped onto Patreon, or you've been sat there waiting for the next review, and I was like, come on, Oliver, and you've got to wait a little bit longer. I do apologise. But yeah, next retrospective is going to be THX 1138, possibly. My mind may change, but I could, you know, to come back, I suppose come back in a big way in the next 2 months, it's got to be something big. The bigger is better. Yeah, so my mind may change on the choice of film as the next retrospective, but I'm kind of like set on THX. You can still contact me, of course. I will be around. I won't disappear because I'm editing this. You can contact me, you know, on Patreon, social media, or my Discord, which you can find a link below. So yeah, so I won't be going silent. You can still talk to me. Okay, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will catch you all soon, and take care and have a great weekend. Okay, bye-bye.